We must accept each other. We must not only accept each other, but we must respect each other. There is no tribe in Nigeria, that is more than 35% of the population. Therefore, every tribe, for them to win any national election, have to have the support of other people. So we should all strive to have that large heart and accommodate. And we can easily be identified. Go to the office of an Igbo man, a Hausa man, a Yoruba man, a Tiv man, an Igala man, a Idoma man, Kanuri man, or Nupe man. If he's a minister, look at his office. How many people of other ethnic groups is he working with? If you say we started with 2 regions, north and south, we became 3 regions, east, west, and north. We became 4 regions, including Midwest. We became 12. We became 19. Now we are 36. People are still clamoring for states. That's why when people say we must restructure, I laugh. What are we structuring? Physical restructuring or restructuring our attitude to belong? They have done restructuring in Malaysia. It paid them off. It paid them off. There are a lot of things that we need to restructure, but more so our own attitude to each other. We must accept each other.
Nigeria is like a household that is not a family. There's a difference between a household and a family. You could have children of the same parents in one household, but if there's no cohesion, there's no unity of purpose, and they're working at cross purposes, such family will never make progress.
It becomes like an unhealthy amalgam of your own willing.
Exactly. It becomes a house of commotion. But at the same time, you can have a coming together of people that are not necessarily people of same bloodline, but with well-defined ethos, and they form a family, well-bonded family, and they begin to work in sync with each other, harmonize each other's individual interests into their common interests, and go all out to achieve such interests, and they become prosperous. And I've had the argument severally too, that the reason for Nigeria's problem, the reason for Nigeria's disunity, the reason for Nigeria's inability to transform into a nation of citizens from a country of tribesmen has to do with our history. And that is why my column is actually titled Out of the Box, something similar to this podcast.
Oh, really?
Because we need to think outside of the box at this point to find solutions to our problems. And it begins with debunking of these myths, some of these fallacies, putting our history in proper perspective, so that when you urge people to embrace national unity and social cohesion, you're not urging them to commit suicide by their own perception. You are urging them to embrace life and living as it's supposed to be in the 21st century. So, for instance, it's a fallacy. Anybody who tells you that Nigeria or Nigerians or the constituent peoples of Nigeria had nothing in common before 1914, for instance, there's this popular belief that the white man came and clubbed us together. We had nothing in common. We were disparate peoples. And so that is why it's difficult. And so people are saying, for instance, it's that you create states along all ethnic lines. As we're saying, let us break up. We can never be one nation. And so this is a fallacy. This is actually opposite of what the reality was. Because our history, our customs, our tradition, our languages, and the proximity of our individual geography suggests otherwise, and clearly shows that long before 1914, there were interrelations between the constituent peoples of Nigeria through trade, through warfare, through diplomacy, through marital ties, and so on and so forth, even beyond the current borders of Nigeria, into Cameroon, for instance, into Niger, into Benin Republic, and into Chad. So in fact, the cultural commonwealth that should have been Nigeria is actually incomplete within the current space. So meaning that we have even more in common than what divides us. So for me, Nigeria is like one black African family, a largely monoracial entity with the various sectional or ethnic groups simply a plurality of the same black African family. It's like having a bird with beautiful feathers. So it's one bird, but the plumages are simply a reflection of the beautiful feathers that makes up the beauty of such a bird. That is how Nigeria ordinarily is supposed to be. And evidence abounds to suggest this. I'll tell you this for free. Some people are today identified as Southern Nigerians, for instance. We are once Northern Nigerians, long before 1914. And in Africa, unlike what we have today, in ancient Africa, unlike what we have today, Africans had a traditional system of citizenship that ensures social cohesion, assimilation and integration seamlessly of anybody who moves from one part to the other. Something that we don't have today. Today, Nigeria still does not have democratic citizenship in its system, even though the constitution allows for that. So, if you ask me, our ancestors were more civilized than those of us that are actually their descendants today.
Wow.
Because they communicated each other more. There was no settler-indigenous dichotomy 100 years ago, 200 years ago. If that was the case, for instance, Oduduwa would not have left wherever he came from. Either from Benin, as some say, either from Mecca, as some say, from heaven, from somewhere in Ife or Mala, in Kogi, wherever he came from, and settled in Ife, became king, and became the progenitor of an ethnic group. He was definitely not an indigenous of Ife. It did something, for instance, for Bayajida, who was said to have come from the Middle East, and founded the 7 original Hausa states, and the not so original 7 Hausa states. History also shows us clearly that there was a southward movement for the old Kwara River region, the Jukun Confederacy, through the Benue Valley, across the Niger, to northern part of where you have Asibo land today. And they moved freely across both Anambra State, current Anambra State, and throughout the Anioma region. You have people from northern Nigeria that have seamlessly fused across the board. They are called the Igala people, for instance. It is also a fact that Arochukwu is the point of dispersal for the Effiks, the Ibibios, and the Aros across southeastern part of Nigeria. Evidence abound about our common ancestry. And that's why our languages are very similar. The only thing is we've not paid attention to our history enough to see the commonality in us enough for us to accept each other and understand that, look, when Azikiwe, who's from Onitsha, a part of southeast Nigeria, a part of Igbo land that traces its ancestry to Benin, partly, and another part of its ancestry to Ida in Kogi State. While the other parts of Onitsha also trace the ancestry to Arochukwu, that when he left Onitsha, for instance, and was born in Zungeru by his parents, and then he moved to Lagos to play his politics, he was simply what Yorubas would call Omowale. Because Benin Empire is ancestrally linked to the Yoruba-speaking part of Nigeria. So if a son of Benin, if a Benin man who became acculturated as an Igbo man in Onitsha and decided to come to Lagos to play his politics, he have been regarded as a stranger, enough to cause hostility across his other half, which led to multiplicity of other problems. And this is the situation for all Nigerians. Anywhere you are found today in Nigeria, whether you are living in the north, living in the south, living in the east, you are supposed to be accommodated as a bona fide member of the family who simply have moved from one part of the family compound to the other. And that's why I was very amused when I see people laying exclusive claim to the territory of Lagos. And I say people don't even know the history of Lagos. Lagos represents the mosaic that is the cultural commonwealth of Nigeria long before 1914. In addition to the Aboriginal Aworis and the Egun people of Badagry, you had Yoruba-speaking communities that moved into the island to trade from the neighboring environment, or it can come from the Oyo Empire. But most importantly, it's also a historical fact that the Obaship of Lagos is a progeny of the Oba of Benin. You see the mix. It's also a fact that a prominent family such as the Oshodi Tapa family of Lagos traced their origin to Bida, northern Nigeria. And that's why they are called Oshodi Tapa. Tapa means Nupe in Yoruba parlance.
Oshodi Tapa.
Oshodi Tapa. Now, it was interesting to know that when the talk about Muslim ticket was so rife, that President Bola Tinubu was going to run with a Muslim from Borno, I talked with her, I told people that if only you know the history of the Tinubu family of Lagos, you will agree with me that it's not only a Muslim ticket, it's a Borno ticket, and it's a Kanuri ticket. Because the patriarch of the Tinubu family is actually Malam Mahmoud Bagara from the old Kanem Borno Empire, who migrated to Lagos, married Madam Tinubu Efunre, the famous trader, who didn't give birth to a child for him though, but was allowed to marry other women and sell children that now took on her name. So the biological bloodline of the Tinubu family have their distant ancestry from the old Borno Kanem Empire, where Shetima comes from today. So Shetima and Tinubu are actually brothers, children of the same parents. But this is the truth of all of us as Nigerians. So I've also made this illustration to understand that Nigeria has no business not being a socially cohesive country. If only we realize that we're indeed essentially one people.
This man talk this with ya, although we go continue because it gets something where we say okay, you still talk where we say it different. So make it no rush come out. But shall make I talk something concerning with them they talk. E get wetin them they talk where we say I never still understand till now. Is it for the country where we say okay, Fulanis are trying to bind everybody finish, then they say they preach all this thing called unity, happy union. I don't even know how they are even putting it here because they are getting me confused day by day. Is it that country now that they say this, that? These people they joke. Anyway, continue waiting them they talk before we go come back.
I think it's a very big mistake for people not to realize that Nigeria has already been restructured. And we're going to begin to see... Yeah, let me land. We're going to begin to see the effects of that restructuring on January 1st, 2026. Now, we have local government autonomy, which is actually, it's already in effect, but according to sources that I heard, it's going to take greater effect on January 1st.
Because that Supreme Court judgment has not been implemented.
Yeah, but allow me land. So, but it's going to take, because they've been conversing with the governors, because, you know, they have to work with the governors.
The governors don't want it.
Yeah, so the governors might not want it, but it's going to take effect, stronger effect, 1st of January 2026. And then you got the new tax reform bill. So, for example, you're going to see a bunch of people complaining that, Lagos has gotten, about $400 million for the new Lagos airport. Lagos has gotten something like maybe 3-point-something trillion for the third mainland bridge, this and that. You're never ever going to see people complaining that, Lagos is generating 54% of the VAT that is coming to Nigeria. You're never going to see people saying that, Oyo State is generating 3 times, Oyo State alone is generating 3 times the VAT that the entire 5 southeastern states generate. Oyo State alone. You're never going to see people saying that, the southwest on its own is actually carrying Nigeria financially in terms of VAT revenue, because they are contributing something like 62% of all of the VAT collected in Nigeria. It is only when it comes to sharing. So now, what are we seeing now? We're seeing that we're now having a tax reform, which has been signed into law. It's going to come into effect 1st of January 2026, where states and local government are going to have more power in collecting and keeping taxes that they collect. So it's going to spur people to be competitive, so that you don't have to now start depending on Lagos. Because if you think about it now, if you look at Lagos, for example, the Lagos airport, it has right now capacity for about 6 million passengers annually.
Right.
And then 30 December, it brings in about $73 million every year to Lagos. But the government of Lagos has said the reason why it's bringing, some people think it's a lot of money, but they're saying that it can be more. Their challenge is that Lagos Airport cannot accommodate the 20 million people who would want to come. If you have a situation where Lagos Airport, that's Murtala Mohammed Airport, is upgraded, and so it has capacity to grow from 6 million passengers annually to about 20 million passengers annually, Lagos is going to make more from 30 December. Now, if Lagos makes more from 30 December, other states are going to get more, because a lot of their VAT revenue does not even come from their state. It comes from Lagos. But then people from some of these states are the ones complaining about Lagos. So, Asiwaju has fixed that with the new tax reform bill, which has been signed. Now, a lot of people don't realize that regionalism has actually come into Nigeria because each region now has its own development commission. So you have all of the regions having their development commission.
Yeah.
The plan, if you look at the law setting up the development commission, these commissions are going to be having more resources than the state governments in their regions. And then they are going to become more powerful in that they'll start building infrastructure. And then they are not going to be held back by houses of assemblies, they are going to be dealing with the National Assembly. So they are going to be strong. So this is what we call restructuring by the back door, and only a politician as astute, as brilliant as Asiwaju could have done it.
You see, in 1960, because those who call our founding fathers failed to acknowledge this oneness and this commonality, so they negotiated from the British a country called Nigeria that was rigidly carved along ethno-geographic fault lines. So our federative units, from the regions to the provinces down to native authorities, we are rigidly structured along ethno-geographic fault lines, which gave rise to a very debilitating phenomena in a democracy. Identity politics of ethnicity and religion. If there's any democracy that is caused, it is that democracy that is principally driven by identity politics of religion and ethnicity. Because it's always a zero-sum game. It is a majoritarian kind of democracy. So if you have an ethnic group that is dominant in a place, it will always win an election, whether or not the contestant is qualified for the office or otherwise. As what happens is this, the reward system, and this is the most important thing about our democracy, the reward system for identity politics is usually corruption, simple and short. So when you hear, I voted for the president, I worked for him, and I was not given appointment, I was not given enough contract, I've not carried along. It means on the table where the national cake is being shared, somebody has been outsmarted or overlooked. So it's about sharing. I don't know, international scholars, in studying Nigeria's democracy, come up with another concept in political science. It's called prebendalism. And what is prebendalism? A situation that is uniquely Nigerian, interestingly. This is almost uniquely entirely Nigerian. Prebendalism is a situation where appointive and elective political office holders have a full sense of entitlement over their sphere of government influence. So for instance, if I'm a minister today, I'm expected to use that as a reward given to me for supporting the president. And what am I supposed to do? I'm not supposed to be there to carry out any national assignment. I'm supposed to use that ministry to service my own section of the country. So for instance, if there will be an employment opportunity in my ministry, and I have 50 slots to be employed or to be filled, I'll make sure that my tribesmen get 45 of those slots. And if you complain to the president, he will not do anything because he understands that he too as president has also allocated more resources to his own home state or his own home region. He knows quite clearly. So this one is like pittance, but the one that fell from the table that YouTube can also manage and go home and show. And when the next election comes, I have to go to the village and tell them, in the last 4 years, every year I bought 45 slots out of 50 for you people. That is on the basis upon which I'm going to negotiate power again for the next dispensation. So it's like a revolving door of corruption. So what has happened is that Nigeria has become less productive over time because we are now puffed with crude oil. You don't have to work as a Nigerian politician. You don't have to pass good legislations. You don't have to make investment as a state government to make money every single month. Private operators drill our oil, pay us rent, and it is shared across board. So a governor needs not lift a finger to receive an alert of between 7 to 15 billion naira, as the case may be, every single month. He needs not do nothing. He doesn't need to go to the office any day of the month for this to happen. So the contestation for these resources, this revenue coming from our mono-resource economy, has become so fierce that we now have to now deploy extraordinary means to outdo each other. That's why you see flawed election becoming a permanent feature in our democracy. That's why you see corruption being cultural in nature. AFC can only do the most they can do. It's cultural. It's like, it's our way of life.
As you can see, I understand what they have said, or now you have noticed that many of them have preached that they are unity as usual. See, they normally preach unity for us, even despite the fact that many of us are suffering in the hands of all these Fulani leaders who seems not to perform or advise their people not to do bad to the real citizen of this country. They are still preaching their unity, which I will not blame any one of them, because the people who call them out to be blamed, I mean those journalists who call them out to be blamed, because if she are called every time to come to talk to people, every time, is how that thing will move you to talk within you don't even supposed to talk. That is what I see these people as. That's just it for that. And for this thing they have said, though Reno Mercury, I know Reno Mercury is a person who doesn't even know his own real left and right. He doesn't know his left and right, in the sense that once you are in government, they normally come to you, support you, so that you give am one small position later, make you fit dey. That is the same thing he did during good luck. Then good luck later pity am, give am one small although wetin he talk for here be say, although e get some part wey be say e still do well sha, but e get wetin he dey talk at times wey be say okay, dey move me as a person. That is why I just have to say this. And for all these northerners and many other people, them Galayima and them all, what they will need to do is to just go back and rethink with their own self. I know that okay, all these northern leaders, they have that ability and that capacity to meet the Fulani leaders among them, to like talk within their self, to talk to their self, if we can even be together or not, because I don't know, we cannot be. We cannot. I'm not joking here. We cannot, because if we can be some part of the element who seems to be an obstacle or a weapon fashioning against us are still with us, there's no way we can. They should remove those one first, even though they want us. That's just it. And for you hearing us, we know you have something to say. If you have anything to say, let us know. And if today's your first time, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.